An update from the extended stay hotel. Hey again, I just wanted to give a quick update and a few responses to some of the comments and messages my last post received. Now, first, I would like to begin by saying thank you to those who actually answered my question so I could try and start more of an investigation into Norm. Now that my boss has been convinced that $60 bills don't actually exist in American currency, he was more than willing to allow me to call up the police and notify them of the forgery. Hopefully, some of the records Norm gave us will give us a lead to go off of, and that situation could be resolved without having to send out one of the trackers. Don't ask. Let's just say the boss doesn't like being ripped off, and when the police can't find someone, he has others who can. It's usually not a very pretty sight, so I'm really rooting for the cops this time. Now, quite a few of you were a bit off topic with your comments. Though the more I read, I guess I could see your point and why you might be interested in more details about the little jobs I do here and some of the odd occurrences. Quite a few of you were asking for more stories about my job, so I figure it might be fun to add some details and make my own little personal journal. For those of you wondering why some of the stuff I was talking about my last story didn't raise more alarm bells, I don't know what to say. The comments claim that Mrs. Wilson might actually be a vampire, and it's not normal to have a beholder flying through your halls, and all I can say is, I'm from Florida. The things I see at my job are nothing compared to the stuff you read in the newspaper on most days down there. Have you ever seen a storm pick up an alligator and chuck it into someone's property? Or a man eating another man's face? Both of these things are stuff I've either seen or watched while living in Florida. So I'm pretty sure I might have been a bit desensitized to weird occurrences. Honestly, Mrs. Wilson being a vampire wouldn't even hit my top 10 chart for Florida strange events. Although, once you guys did point it out, I have noticed a lot of men she brings home to the hotel don't really leave in the morning. I never really questioned it, and she specifically has requested I stay away from her after our last run-in, so I can't exactly say where her gentleman callers may have gone. Though the cleanup crew for a room usually does consist of about a dozen different people in hazmat suits. Do with that information what you will. A lot of you were more curious about Bill and why he trying to make an escape. It's just a rule here. Bill's not allowed to leave the hotel. Something about what he has to say will cause the downfall of humanity and bring on the apocalypse. I don't know the details, but the owner's pretty insistent that Bill has to stay. This usually isn't an issue, as long as nothing sets him off. But every so often, he just randomly makes a run for the door. Usually he's easy to catch, but there are times he has gotten the slip on us and almost escaped. After the last time, where he actually got a foot out the door, the owner said enough was enough and hired a nurse whose entire job is just to track down Bill and sedate him so we can get him back to his room. You know, the weird part? No one actually can recall ever seeing the nurse anywhere in the hotel unless Bill is making a dash for the door. It's almost like the guy just materializes in these one specific instances, and he is brutally efficient. Other than the rule of not letting him out of the hotel, Bill is generally just a regular guy. He sticks to a pretty normal routine, comes down to breakfast every morning, goes and does some laps around the hotel until it's time for dinner. Sometimes he eats the hotel food, and other times he'll order delivery whenever he's feeling like a hankering from something from the outside world. And we can't provide everything. We used to allow the driver to head directly up to Bill's room, but then there was an incident where the driver turned out to be someone Bill contacted online to assist him escaping. Since then, all deliveries have to be dropped off at the front desk. The owner doesn't like to get into details about the situation, but we're starting to think Bill might have a small following that actually want him to escape and start the apocalypse. we just have to keep updating our security. A lot of you were also curious about Mr. Olstein and asked if he's actually a person and not just 3 raccoons in a trench coat. I have no idea where you guys come up with these odd ideas, but no, I can assure you, he's just a really weird-looking guy who acts a lot like a raccoon. Now, we did learn of a way to contain him for a little while recently. It's a fairly simple trick, and we're kind of shocked that it works, especially as often as it does. Studying the behavior of actual raccoons, we created some small holes in the walls and installed a box. Inside this box, we place a tiny shiny object. Very similar to like a raccoon trap. The hole of the box is large enough for him to slip his hand inside, but once he clenches the shiny object in his fist, it's too big to get out. We were hoping that this would keep him contained until we could, tackle him or call the police, but he seems to snap back to his senses in about 10 minutes and he escaped. We've been trying this trick again over the last few days with a bunch of other objects, and it seems to work every time as long as the object is shiny enough. The length the object keeps his attention seems to vary based on what it is, but he always loses interest eventually. Currently, our record is keeping him contained for 1 hour, and we've decided to make it a monthly competition to see who can trap him the longest, with the winner getting a gift card at the end of each month. Even if this won't stop his antics around the hotel, it really does provide a lot of entertainment for the staff. There were also a lot of questions about the 5th and 6th floors and why they're inaccessible or undesirable from the tenants. I explained what's going on with the 5th floor, but yeah, I guess the 6th floor caught some of your attentions. That just happens to be where the cult lives. The cult moved in about 4 years ago. We don't know much about what they're doing, but they always pay on time and mostly leave the other guests alone. The only big setback has been that they've somehow managed to close off the 6th floor from being able to be entered. I don't mean like they've barricaded the doors or something. It's literally impossible to get to the 6th floor by any normal means except for one. The elevator no longer displays a button for the 6th floor, and every single stairwell no longer goes to the 5th floor. I don't mean, again, that you go past it. It just skips it. Like, you go from 5 to 7. We're not really sure why. The only exception is in the basement. At some point, a new set of stairs just kind of materialized, and they go straight from the basement to the 6th floor, apparently. We're paid pretty well to make sure that no one will find these stairs ever, so please don't ask how to get to them. Now, while we don't know a lot about their activities, they do display a few odd behaviors from time to time. One of the strangest things is their obsession with towels. Almost every other day, someone from the cult arrives and collects several garbage bags full of towels, which they take back to their floor and they're never seen again. If it weren't for the fact that they paid extra to replace the towels, we would have had quite the predicament a long time ago. I don't think we'd last a week with the amount that just disappear from them. We're pretty sure as well that they may have another door that leads to the outside, because we're fairly certain that their numbers are increasing like at least once a week, and nobody new is ever entering through the front door. When they first moved in, it was just 5 people wearing black robes with a red number stitched onto their right sleeve. It was quite a shock when number 6 first showed up to get more towels. Based on the numbers we've seen, we are pretty sure there's at least 64 members, but it's hard to say if there might be more. The other odd thing is that they never seem to request any food or drink, yet always seem to have garbage bags waiting for us every morning, and they're definitely not filled with towels. One time I tried to sneak a peek and see what they might be throwing out, but immediately the owner came running down the stairs and yelled at me for even thinking about digging through their trash. I'm still not entirely sure how he knew what I was doing, though, seeing as he wasn't even supposed to be in the hotel that day, but I'm not dumb enough to second-guess direct orders from the boss. Not after what happened to Kevin. Poor kid. Anyways, now, for the most part, the cult has been maintaining relative peace with themselves and the staff and the guests. But I guess there is a little bit of tension from time to time. There have been a couple reports that when staff members sometimes take a nap in the break room, or even some of our guests when they're asleep in their room, they've found themselves suddenly tied up and being carried to the basement by a cult member who somehow managed to get into a completely locked room. We've managed to stop most of these abductions, but every once in a while we fail to reach them before they get to the basement stairs. Poor Kevin. Oh, this is a different Kevin from the one I previously mentioned. Not much of him was found after he vanished, but his uniform was returned to the front desk, very neatly folded. I was appreciative of that. Oh, shoot. I'm probably going to have to cut this journal a bit short. I just remembered Mr. Braxley stopped by in his tank and warned me that the family of werewolves might have found their way back into the hotel. He said Mrs. Braxley was upstairs helping with one of the new residents getting settled in when she noticed a window open and a distinct tuft of wolf hair. It wouldn't be such a huge deal except that they continuously try to pay for their room with animal bones. The first couple times the boss was perfectly fine with this arrangement, but he's kind of reached his limit, so they're really not supposed to be on the premises anymore. I'll keep you posted with how that goes. Phil.